Welcome. This is a presentation from DIY Marketing, where we say, yes, you can. Now, roll up your shirt sleeves and get out your elbow grease. You're going to learn how to become a dynamic DIY marketer.
Hi, this is Lauren Darr. I am coming to you from DIY Marketing, and I want to talk to you today about do-it-yourself branding basics. So contrary to popular belief and what you may have been told by a big marketing or advertising agency, branding is not really rocket science. You don't really need to spend a huge amount of time or a big budget on having a corporate identity or creating advertising standards manuals and those types of things. Those elements of marketing are usually reserved for when you get to a point in your business where you're large enough that you actually need them. So if you are a small business or an entrepreneur or solopreneur, which is the type of people that tend to be attracted to DIY marketing, know that you can have some DIY branding basics put in place, and you can acquire those things as time goes on. I would rather you take the money that you have for your marketing budget and spend that on things like collateral. What is collateral, you ask? That's business cards, websites, brochures, things that are going to actually help you make a sale. Something like a corporate identity manual or an advertising standards manual is not necessarily going to do that for you. So when you're developing your branding basics, how do I get those things, you ask? And what I would say to you is, especially if you're in that small business entrepreneurial mode, try and find a freelance graphic artist or graphic designer in your area, because they are generally going to be less expensive for you than going to a huge marketing firm or advertising agency where they're used to building out huge programs for companies. So while you're in this mode of still being a small business, seek out a freelance graphic designer, and you can even do that online. But I will caution you to this. Make sure that you are dealing with a graphic designer versus someone that is an artist, because there's a really big difference between the two. As I said before, you can find a graphic designer online if you can't find someone locally, if you tend to be in a outlying area where there's a small town where you don't necessarily have that expertise, which is fine. But the main branding basic I want to convey to you is keep everything consistent. Whether you have your logo on your business cards, whether it's on your envelopes, you have it on a brochure, letterhead, website, make sure that your brand is consistent throughout all of those marketing elements. Your logo needs to be consistent in its style and in its color, and the fonts need to be consistent throughout wherever your logo appears in your brand. This consistency will help you with repetition with your customer base and help build that brand recall and brand recognition with your customers and your target market. So I cannot emphasize enough, consistency is key. So I want to give you a little bit of an exercise for going through and making sure you have that consistency with your brand. Go and get copies of all of your marketing materials, whether it's your letterhead, your business cards, envelopes, website, anything that you have, a brochure, user reports, case studies, anything at all that has your logo on it. If you're in a hotel, you have a lot of things in the rooms that would have your logo on them, anything like that. Check for the consistency across the board through all of those marketing materials. Are my fonts the same? Is the coloring consistent? Is the style of the logo consistent? Am I consistently using it the same way on a dark background versus a light background? Because that is what you really need to consider. Now, if you have a lot of inconsistencies in your brand across the board when you're doing this exercise, decide what is the most consistent about those. and decide, is that how I want it to be? If it's not, what you need to do is kind of set some standards for yourself. Whenever my logo appears on a dark background, this is how I want it to look. Whenever my logo appears on a light background, this is how I want it to look. I have a way for doing my logo in black and white, and these are the standards that I'm setting for myself. And stay within those parameters. And what you will need to do is update the materials that aren't consistent throughout, but keep the ones that do have that consistency. That's going to save you time and money and expense in the long run, and help you also keep that consistency across your brand when you are looking at your do-it-yourself branding basics. So I hope this video has been of help to you and has assuaged any fears that you may have feared about branding being this great, big, scary thing that marketing agencies talk about. And I welcome any of your comments or any of your questions or insights that you may have, and feel free to put those in and send those in to us on our website.
This has been a presentation of DIY Marketing. Thank you for joining us. Now get out there and market, because oh yes, you most certainly can.